Om Namo Venkatesaya. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavathanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashanteye Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha. Tismarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchate Namastasmi Vishnave Prabha Vishnave Lakshmi Nata Samarambam Nate Amana Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Partaya Pradibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Namo Venkatesaya. My pranams everybody. So we completed chapter 10, Vibhuti Yogam, the Bhagavan's Aishwaryam. So we'll just do a recapitulation of the chapters from beginning briefly. So chapter 1, the Arjuna's Vishada Yoga, where Arjuna initially was very enthusiastic in fighting the battle. Then he asked Krishna to bring the chariot in between the warring factions. Senayor Bhuyor Madhya Ratam Sthapyame Achita. Then Krishna brings the chariot in between the warring faction and then ask him to look at the people who are on the Kaurava side. Then when Arjuna looks at the people on both sides, he completely gets rejected, depressed, and says, I'm not going to fight this battle because I won't get anything by just fighting with my own Kitankin and then Acharya as well as the grandsire Bhishma Pitamaha and killing them. I won't get any, even if I get the entire king, the whole universe, I'm not interested in that. So he says, my Gandiva is also falling down. So my mouth has become dry. My body is completely burning. So with all the signs of depression, he just sits down on the chariot. Then Krishna whips him up saying that you are such a manly person. It is not becoming of you to, make such kind of words. Still, Arjuna continues saying that I don't want to fight this battle. Then finally he surrenders him saying, Prapannoham Sishyaste. That means I have become your disciple. I surrendered to you. So I don't know what is my dharma. Please tell me what is good for me. That's how he surrenders in the beginning of the chapters 2. And thereafter Krishna takes over. He was waiting for Arjuna to surrender because Bhagavan Suvamoto doesn't give the advice for a person who doesn't seek for it. So one has to seek for the advice, then only Bhagavan will give that. That's if you look at the various Upanishads, it is the Sishyas who goes to the Guru and then seeks the knowledge, and then Guru seeks the knowledge depending upon the level of understanding of the Sishya. And therefore then Krishna takes over. Then in chapter 2, which is the Sankhya Yoga, Bhagavan talks about 3 things. One is he is initially talking about the Atma Vidya. That is, he's saying, Arjuna, your confusion is that you are killing your Kitankin as well as your Guru Dronacharya as well as the grandsire Bhishma. The Jivatma is imperishable. That is, it cannot be, it only changes its, just as the person changes the clothes when the clothes get worn out. Similarly, the Jivatma changes its body and takes a different body. So body alone is perishable and Atma is not perishable, and therefore you are not killing your Kitankim. All of us have taken different births, and including your Bhishma as well as Dronacharya. And therefore, there is nothing to worry about, feeling that you are killing your Kitankin as well as your Guru. Also, since the body is perishable, there is no point in, even if they don't die now, at some point of time, they will have to leave this body, and therefore nothing to worry about. So the wise people don't worry about things which are bound to perish, and they don't worry about things which are imperishable. So on both counts, there is no point in lamenting over the fact that you are killing so-and-so, so-and-so. The second point he talked about is the Karma Yoga. Briefly touched upon Karma Yoga. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palat peturbo mate sangosta karma. That means your control is only on the action, not on the results, because the results depend on several other factors. But then that doesn't mean that you will have to say, get attached to non-action. That is like what you're saying now. But you got to perform your actions. Don't get attached to the action. That's what Bhagavan said. Then he talked about this finally this Sita Prajna in the chapter 2. Sita Prajna is a person who is a realized person. That person, what are his contacts? He never gets worried about what is happening in this world. He is completely free from the attachments of this universe. He always remains in bliss, Atmic bliss. So that's how we concluded the chapter 2. Then in beginning of the chapter 3, Arjuna is confused. Initially, you talked about Karma Yoga. Then you talked about the glorified Jnana, the Sita Prajna. I'm confused as to what is the path I should take. whether I should take the path of action or whether I should go take the path of jnana. That was the confusion Arjuna had, and Krishna says both are the paths that are available, but for in your case you have got to follow the action because you are still not reached the stage of getting into the jnana marga, and therefore you have got to perform these actions. And then he says, do it as an offering to me, and then without expecting any rewards for the fruits of the action, just do it as your dharma. Your Kshatriya dharma is to fight against adharma. Just do that. Even if you die in the battle, in the process of this in process of fighting in this battle, doesn't matter. You're on the side of dharma, and therefore that will take you to the Swargalokam. And in most of the Kshatriyas are waiting for reaching this Veera Swargam, and therefore anyway you got to fight this battle. If you win the battle, of course you are going to get back the kingdom. Either way, it is only advantages for you to fight this battle. And even people like Janaka and others, even though they were realized people, and even take my own example, I don't have to get anything by doing any of the actions in this world, but still I perform the actions because all these realist masters continue to perform the actions, because otherwise we'll have to set a good example to the posterity. Otherwise people at a later point of time will come and then say that even Krishna did not perform these actions, or the Janaka did not do all these actions, and therefore we got to perform these actions, and therefore that's what you got to do this. That's what towards the end of the chapter 3, which is the Karma Yoga, Arjuna asked this question. So people in this world, nobody wants to do any Papa Karma. Everybody wants to do Punya Karma. Then why is it that they are being forced to do all these actions? Then Krishna says, Kama Yesha, Krodha Yesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. That means the Kama, that is the desire, as well as the Krodha. Krodha means the anger arising out of this Kama. Non-fulfillment of the desires results in anger. And these are the two things which push the people into performing these various sinful activities. So Arjuna, be careful, don't get into this trap. That's what is concluded by chapter 3. The fourth one is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, where Bhagavan talks about the knowledge aspect of all this karma. Each karma has got a knowledge aspect of it. So you should be aware of why we are performing this action. It is not it is only the body arising out of these three gunas, this sattva, rajas, tamas. That is what is performing the action. Being Jivatma, I'm different from this body, and therefore these actions do not bind me. So that kind of a knowledge one should have while perform these various actions, and in that, so you can renounce your actions in that knowledge. That's what Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That's how. Then he talked about different types of yajnas. Some people perform the pranayama as an yajna. Some people perform, this dravya yajna. All those things, different paths. Then some people, this surrender their sense organs into the mind, and mind into the intellect. So those kind of different types of yajnas Bhagavan talked about. And then the jnana is like a agni. So agni burns up everything, and therefore this jnana completely burns up all your actions. And so among all the various yajnas, Bhagavan said jnana yajna is the greatest one. So that means it doesn't need any other dravyam. That means it doesn't need any material for you to perform the yajna. So jnana yajna is sharing the knowledge with others without expecting any reward. That's what Bhagavan talked about. Jnana yajna is the greatest one. So that's how the fourth chapter concludes. Then we come to the fifth chapter, which is Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That is renunciation in action, not renunciation of action. So you'll have to keep performing these various actions with the same, almost repeat of chapter 4, in the sense that with that action, saying that it is only the body is performing this action and surrendering all the actions to the Bhagavan. And therefore, if you perform such kind of an action, those actions bind you at all. So you can keep performing. You can do whatever you want to do in this world. If you have that kind of a bhava, then whatever actions that you do not bind you at all. Na karma lipyate nare. So that means that actions don't bind you at all. That's how the chapter 5 concluded. Then he moved on to the dhyana yoga. So once a person performs this karma yoga, slowly his this vasanas and karmas get slowly get eroded, and then that person becomes fit enough to perform the dhyana. Because if you start for meditation without having these preconditions of karma yoga, the moment you sit on meditation, immediately the mind will start wandering around this whole world, and you won't be able to do the dhyana. So that's what Bhagavan talked about in this dhyana yoga. So initially he said the yogi as well as the sannyasi are both same. Anasrita karma palam karyam karma karoti sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragni na chakriya. That means the sannyasi and then this karma yogis both are same, because both of them do their actions without expecting any rewards. And ashrita karma palam. Ashrita means leaning onto karma palam. That means fruits. Anashrita means opposite of that, not leaning onto the fruits of the action. the person performs, that is the sannyasi as well as the karma yogi, both are the same because they both of them perform the actions without expecting any rewards of the fruits of the actions. Then Bhagavan said you'll have to keep performing the actions, still the karmas themselves leave you. When you get to that, the example he gave was, yoga ruda. That means a person who is riding that horse, he will keep one foot on the footrest, and then other foot he'll keep on the ground. He will keep running for some period of time. Then once he gets the balance, then he puts the other leg also into that the other side of the footrest and starts riding that horse. So like that, one have to keep performing the actions. So a stage will come, then the karmas themselves will leave you. That's what it is. Then he talked about the methodology of performing this dhyana. So what are the various preconditions required for the person should keep that kosa grass on the floor. On top of that is a cloth. On top of that, one has to sit, keeping his body, that is the base of the body, the neck and the head in a straight line. Then slowly closing his eyes, one should concentrate on the tip of the nose. So those are the details of this dhyana yoga Bhagavan gave. Then he also said that dhyana is possible only for a person who is very limited in very moderation. Moderation is the key. So a person who doesn't eat at all will not be able to concentrate. A person who eats too much also will not be able to concentrate. Similarly, a person who doesn't sleep at all will not be able to concentrate. A person who sleeps too much also will not be able to concentrate. That kind of a moderation effect that Bhagavan talked about, all those things. Finally, what is the benefit of doing this dhyana yoga? Then when performs the dhyana yoga, then he will reach a stage when none of these things in the world will affect him. Even the worst of the sorrows will not touch that person as such, and will be in that atmic bliss. That's what Bhagavan said. Then Arjuna had this question, Krishna, whatever you say is true, but then I think it's very difficult to control the mind. The mind is like a hurricane. You can't control hurricane because it is so wild and then very powerful. I don't think we can control the mind. The Bhagavan says yes. That's what. Then he said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena chagrihyate. That means the mind's nature is chanchalam. Yes, I agree with you. But then through two processes, that is abhyasa. That means you'll have to keep constantly practicing it. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagya. Vairagya means that means it says steadfastness to the goal. That means you got to, as long as you have the this steadfastness to the goal and keep putting the efforts, definitely you will have control over the mind. You can get into this dhyana yoga. That's what Bhagavan said. Then another question Arjuna asked is, supposing the people who follow this path of dhyana yoga, because of the prarabdha karma, they leave this body, or for some reasons they get away from this dhyana yoga, that person becomes a yoga prashta. What happens to that person? I mean, is he not completely lost because he is neither did he enjoy the pleasures of this world, nor did he get into this moksha. So he's lost in between the two stools. That's what Arjuna's question was. So Bhagavan says, no, that person is never Name Bhakta Pranesh. That means my Bhaktas never get destroyed. And what happens is that person goes to, if he has got desires of reaching to different lokas, he goes to different lokas, spends some time in this different lokas, and comes back into this world, taking birth in a family which is Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate. That means he takes a birth in a very pure and then in an environment which is conducive for him to continue from where he has left. That means he doesn't have to start afresh. He starts from the place where he left in the previous birth and continues the path. And therefore, the family itself is into that particular mode of performing this dhyana yoga. And therefore, that is conducive for him to continue that. And therefore, that is the birth that a person gets. Or a person, if he doesn't have any disease, the next birth immediately takes as a human being and continues from there, and then ultimately reaches the goal. That's what Krishna assures the people who follow this dhyana yoga. With that, 1 to 6 talks about the jivatma's role. So that is what karma yoga, then the jnana aspect of the karma yoga, then denunciation in action, then performing the dhyana yoga. The 7 to 12 talks about the tat portion, that is the Bhagavan's, the glory of the Bhagavan as such. So 1 to 6 is Jivatma, 7 to 12 is Paramatma. So this chapter 7 is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. That's what Bhagavan said. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vaksham aseshatha yajnatvan neha bhuyonyati jnatavyam avasisha. I'm going to tell you this knowledge as well as the practice of this knowledge Vijnana, which is so important that everybody in this every jivatma and every human being has to know about it, having known that there is nothing else to be known in this world. That's what Bhagavan talks about. Then he talks about his lower nature. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahamkara ityame brahma vinna prakriti ashta. That means the panchabhutas, the manaha, buddhi, ahamkara, these are my lower nature. The higher nature is my Jivatma, higher Prakriti. The lower Prakriti is this Panchabhutas, Amkaram, Buddhi, and Manas. The higher Prakriti is the Jivatma. Yedam Dharyate Jagate. That means that is what is being sustained by this, the living principle, which is the Jivatma. Then he talked about, this. I am the Matta Parataram Naneti Kinchidasti Dhananjay, Mai Sarvam Idam Protam Sutriyamani. That means I am the supreme God. There is nobody above me. And all these things, the entire universe is, bound into, is being supported by me, like a thread which is supporting this garland. That's what Bhagavan said. So he is the support for the entire universe. Then he talked about his greatness, about Balam Balamadam Api Kamaraga, which that means I am the strength in the strong people. So all this is greatness. He talked about it. Then he came to the question of Maya. He says that people fall into the trap of Maya, and therefore they do not know about my true nature. And then he says Maya is the one difficult to conquer. Devi Kesha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So it is my Maya, and it is very difficult to cross over. Only person who surrenders to me and me alone will be able to cross over this Maya. That's what the solution that Bhagavan gave for overcome this the Maya. Some other people who take to the Asura bomb, that means they don't believe in this dharmic principle. They completely do not know me, know my true nature. That's what Bhagavan said. Then he talked about the 4 types of devotees: Artho, Jiknyasu, Arthati, Jnani, Cha, Bharata, Rishabha. People are afflicted with problems. People want wealth. People who are interested in getting more and more knowledge. The person who has realized, the Jnani. These are the 4 types of people. Among all the people are all my devotees only, the 4 of them, because they approach me for whatever they want. In that sense, they are my devotees. And they gave me this opportunity. Bhagavan says, Udara Sarva Yevete. That means all these people are all benevolent people. Because Bhagavan is the person who is giving, but then he's honoring all his devotees, saying that they are benevolent people. Because they are giving me an opportunity to fulfill all their needs. In that sense, Bhagavan says, Udara Sarva Yevete. Sarva Yevete. Then he says, among all the 4 devotees, Jnani is the greatest person, because Astita Sahi Yuktatma Mameva Vidatami. That means he is completely, devoted to me. He doesn't think of other than me. He wants me and me only, and therefore he is the greatest devotee. He resides in me, and I reside in him. So that is what Bhagavan said. The fact that he resides in everybody is known to us, but the fact Bhagavan is saying that the Jnani to Atmaiva me matam. That means Jnani is my core. He is my Atma. That's what Bhagavan says. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Man Prapadyate. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So Vasudeva, Bhagavan is the Jnani sees everybody as Vasudeva, and therefore he is able to see my presence in all the living beings, and that's why he is the greatest Jnani in this universe. That's what Bhagavan says of the glorifying the Jnani. Then, of course, he says, some people worship different devotees. All these devotees, it's fine. They worship different devotees, but they are only, I only make the bhakti firm in them, and all the fruits are only dispensed by me only through these various devatas. Then he talked about this Adi Devam, Adi Bhautam, Adhyatmikam, these 3, Sadi Bhutam, Sadi Devam, Sadhyatmikam. That's what he's talked about towards the end. A person who lives, when he leaves this body, thinks about me, then he is the person who will ultimately reach me. That's how he concluded with chapter 7. We'll continue the chapter 8, 9, and 10 tomorrow. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramadhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Krishna 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 Krishna.